Hey guys, Kedrix here, and wow, it's been a very long time since I've just sat down in this chair and done a video. And yes, this is my review on Final Fantasy 15, the video game, which I figure if I'm gonna get back into the fray of things, I gotta start somewhere. I did a couple of video game reviews in the past, if I recall correctly. I remember doing Arkham Knight. Uh, Although I think that was the only one I ever did. So let's get into Final Fantasy 15. So, me personally, I have not known too much about this game. I had no idea it existed until 2013. I knew nothing about Final Fantasy 13 Versus or anything like that. I didn't know about Noctis or any of that stuff. Um, but after 2013, I got kind of interested. I'm like, Final Fantasy 15, what is this? And so I started doing my own little research into it. And of course, when it was announced, that's when I got interested. Then I got all into this. I started looking into the lore and everything. What we all knew. And I was like, this looks pretty interesting. Then I saw the gameplay trailer, and I was just like, wow, that looks incredible. And then I played episode Du Sky, which I fell in love with it just by the gameplay. I love the voice actors. I saw the Kingsglaive movie. Phenomenal movie. I recommend that anyone who hasn't seen it and is going to play Final Fantasy 15, watch the movie, then play Final Fantasy 15, because there are some things. There's really only one thing in the movie that actually 100% will maybe-ish confuse you if you haven't seen Kingsglaive. And it's not until the very end of the game. Because, okay, before we go any further, there will be spoilers in here. There will be spoilers. I put it in the title. I know I put it in the title because I always do that whenever there's spoilers or stuff like that. So, yeah, let's just go. Also, I'm going to be doing like this big Ruby reaction thing tomorrow, so just wait for that. So overall, what do I think about this game? I loved it. Heck, I've already beaten it, obviously, and I think one of the things that I love about this game is that I actually sort of know a lot of people that are like a lot of the characters that we're playing with in this game. In fact, if you knew me in real life, you would actually know that I'm actually quite a bit like Noctis in the way he just acts around people and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I act. And then you have Prompto, who acts like my best friend sometimes. I mean, there are a lot of similarities between me and my friends and, Noctis's friends and Noctis himself, and I'm just like, there's some small similarities there, but it's just all that. I think that's why I really got captivated into the story. I feel like they played the character Arden pretty well, as at first you don't really know whether you like him or not, whether he's going to betray the capital and end up helping you. But as this game slowly goes on, and then, big spoiler, he kills Luna. Let's face it. People are sometimes saying, oh, she drowned. That's what happened to her. I'm like, no, 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 no. He stabbed her. Okay, she could have escaped and survived if not for that stab wound. Oh, she probably could have done it even with the stab wound, but let's face it. You get stabbed right there, and she looked like she was in some pretty deep pain. Oh, man. It's not easy to come away from that. This game, I think it just captures how you really feel whenever you're playing it. Because I felt myself rooting for Noct and Luna to, get together at the end, to have a good, happy ending, and to see it all ripped away at that. My blood was boiling at that point. Just like, I found out that Arden, he did what he did to Luna and everything that he'd been doing. It was in my head at that point. I was just like, I am going to hunt him down and I am going to make him suffer. That was the goal. That was the goal in this when playing the game and after what happened to Luna. Um, I didn't feel like you actually needed to switch out your weapons that much throughout the game, other than just a different variety for Noctis. Like say, I had the daggers, the giant sword, the regular sword, and for my fourth weapon, throughout pretty much most of the game, I had one of the royal arms as my fourth and final weapon. Uh, I actually did not use magic until about the last 6 hours of playtime for me, because I beat the game in like 25 hours total. Didn't have too much time to play it. I had a couple, about an hour and a half, if that, a day ever since it came out. Today, Saturday, and yesterday on Friday, I played pretty much the entire day, both days. Just getting it all taken care of. And overall, the story I think is incredible. I think the gameplay is incredible. The graphics are incredible. There's a problem that I do have with the voice acting when it comes down to the in-game cutscenes, and I don't mean the cutscenes that uh, have their own actual CGI cinematic stuff going on. I mean, like, say it doesn't transition into a cutscene. It just sort of stops playing, and then the character's mouths just sort of talk, and it's just like this. You got the words coming out of my mouth, but it's just kind of like that. Yeah, that's one thing that bugs me. Compared to this, I think Kingdom Hearts kind of has it mastered because at least their lips move somewhat, even though it is a staticky, just flat face. Um, Overall, this game, I think it's great. There's also a few hints here and there towards two other games in specific. If you go into the game, you'll eventually find the Kingdom Hearts reference, and there's even a Final Fantasy VII reference in there if you find these two characters in the middle of the story called Biggs and Wedge. And for those of you who don't know who Biggs and Wedge are, they're in Final Fantasy VII. They were part of the group of freedom fighters called Avalanche. Anyone who played Final Fantasy VII is going to pick up on that pretty quickly. For the story, like I said, with the whole Kingsglaive thing, at the end of the story, when you have I don't know, it's hard to really explain. Because basically, throughout the entire mission, all you're trying to do is get Noct and Luna together. But after Ardyn kills her, the Noct goes out for revenge. After Ignis goes blind, Gladios has his own problems. Eventually, they all get split up and they come back together to get the crystal back. Well, the crystal actually absorbs Noct, and that's when we find out that Ardyn is actually part of the Kaelem bloodline, whatever Noctis' last name is, because I can never remember it no matter how much I try. And that's when we jump ahead 10 years into the future, and everyone's grown up about 10 years. Noct kind of skips forward in time, though. His body ages, but Noct doesn't really go through the same experiences. It's like it happens almost instantly with him, and it sort of turns into this big battle at the end where we know at the very end Noct is going to die, that his life must be sacrificed. They go all the way back to frickin' Insomnia, which looked beautiful in the movie, and in the game it's torn apart, it's destroyed. When you finally get into the throne room, there are 4 bodies hanging from the ceiling. The Emperor from Niflheim. Then there's King Regis's body. Whoa. Luna's body. Oh, hell no. And then, if you haven't seen Kingsglaive, because I did warn you spoilers on this one, Nyx, the main character from the Kingsglaive movie. Yes. Like, you can tell it's him. His arm is pretty much wrecked the same way it was at the end of the movie. You can clearly see his face. You won't see it if it's on a small, like, say, computer screen. You won't see it there. If you have a big, like, 52 or 55, whatever inch my TV screen is, I think it's like a 55 inch. you will notice it. And that just looks beautiful when it's on the 55. Um, Altogether, it ends up being this big final battle between you and Arden. And in the end, in order to kill Arden, who's apparently been an immortal this entire time, you must sacrifice your own life in the end. Uh, so let's talk a little bit about the gameplay and everything. Noct's ability being fishing, I thought was great. I enjoyed fishing. I didn't get to do it too much when I was working through the story. Gladios' survival, helping you find more items here and there. That's a great addition. I think that was really well played out. Ignis's cooking ability is probably the most useful out of them all, and the second easiest to level up, where the easiest to level up is actually Prompto's picture taking, which gets some pretty good screenshots. And of course, at the end of the game, Noctis asks Prompto for one photo, and you get to pick whichever one you've saved. And I picked the one where they took the picture in front of the regalia because it was the four of them. I felt like that was the one that needed to be done. That kind of stuff. But that's pretty much it. Overall for this game, what do I think about it? I do feel like it was a little too short. It felt like it was too short, and there were some moments where I felt like the pacing was a little too slow. I think the time jump was a little unnecessary. There were some problems with it. I would have preferred a happier ending because, don't get me wrong, a hero that sacrifices himself to save the world, that's always a great story. But I think what people really wanted to see out of this character, they wanted to see him have a happy ending, myself included. I still love the game. I really do. In fact, this is actually become my favorite Final Fantasy game. Yes, for years the favorite one has been Final Fantasy VII. Now it's 15. Final Fantasy 15 is my favorite out of the entire series now. That's saying something, because this game did not take me nearly as long to get to the end. And I think one of the reasons why it's my favorite is honestly because of the gameplay. Now, I know we're getting the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I know the story to that, and I don't know, maybe it's just that this is a newer thing. I may change my mind back to 7 being my favorite, but for the time being, it sort of steals the spot. So what's my rating for this game overall? I'm going to have to say I give it a... Let's say I give this a 9.2 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I did have some problems with it. There were some quests that were just really annoying to get through. Like, I don't know, some of the quests where you have to hunt for certain things and, it's impossible to get around because, you're trying to find all this stuff out in the middle of the night or the middle of the day, and it's in this big open area, and there's just literally anywhere it could be. Took forever to find some of this stuff. Overall, I enjoyed the game. I recommend it to anyone. I recommend watching the movie, then playing the game, because you will understand the game at least a little bit better, and I think you will honestly enjoy the game a lot more than everything else. So overall, thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a big mega reaction of the first 4 Ruby episodes. That's probably going to be like an hour long, so we'll see how it all goes down. I've been Kedrix, as always, people. Have an awesome day. Peace out, and I will catch you all later. I really want to get back into this thing, and I think I probably will. I won't be doing... I don't think I'll be doing reviews anymore. I might not. I want to get back into this, so let's see how it all goes down. This is where my schedule has been messed up all year long. I've been trying to get back into the swing of things, and for a while I was. But things have gotten kind of complicated lately, so we'll see how it all goes down tomorrow. Catch y'all later. Peace.